So, John, it's been at least 6 to 9 months since I've really pissed somebody off about COVID. So I'm way overdue.
Oh, good.
But I'll tread as gently as I can. We're talking at the break, and we're talking about Bridget, and the what was the low point for her was the summer of 2020 when her company's laying people off, being furloughed. She didn't know if she's going to lose her $100,000+ a year job. Instead, she ends up getting a promotion, so it nets out. We've got this company with 1,200 team members. The leadership team here is scratching and clawing, and entire segments of our revenue just evaporated, and we've got the responsibility to these 1,200 families that we promised them we were going to pay them, and the stress of on our leadership team of carrying that. My friend Craig Groeschel just did a podcast. He does a leadership podcast. I was on it a little while back. I'm getting ready to be on another one, but he just did one I listened to this week. He talked about how people were depleted, and that we need to, as we lead out of this pandemic, we need to be replenished. We need to be filled back up. Our gas tank's empty. The gears are grinding. There's no oil in the crankcase. There's no lubricant in our lives anymore. We got nothing left. And in the middle of that, the economy goes bonkers. With inflation and with job opportunities. There's labor wars. So people are fighting over you to pay you more, but they want to work you more than you've ever worked in your life in order to get that pay. And so we went from scared to death, trapped at home, sitting on zero, to 220 miles an hour with no lubrication in the engine.
That's right.
And so we've got a whole bunch of people out there that are completely depleted, and they're going to smoke. The engine's going to smoke. It's going to blow.
Yeah, and if you back out and say, our friend Jocko talks about this, there's been no ownership of the good or the bad. You have to acknowledge what happened to you negatively.
It became politicized as to whether they were right or not to do the quarantine, right or not to do social distance, right or not to make me clean the office at $60,000 a swipe by the CDC guidelines, and then they come out later and say it doesn't help at all.
Right.
After I spent $250,000 cleaning the freaking office, so people back at work, and people still sending us hate mail and bomb threats
that's right.
in the building because we dared to be at work.
When you experience a collective trauma, somebody has to stop everybody and say, whoa, before we race off and
before we move on,
before we just start printing money and pretend this never happened, which is what we've done, right?
Exactly.
And Bridget talked about she went through a divorce, she had some loss, and so I'm just going to open a yoga studio.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm just going to pretend this, and then that ends in ash. And all of us who have launched out of the last 6 months trying to pretend the last 2 years never happened and not collectively grieve what we lost. A million people, and we lost, people are dead, our friends, our family members have passed away. We've looked back and said, we shouldn't have done it like this. Will someone just say that, please? And we should have been. All that you have to process that together. You have to. Otherwise, you take off. You got no. I love that you said there's no oil in the engine. It'll go for another 150 miles, 200 miles, and you're gonna be all the people are gonna be straight on the side of the road, man. And I hate it. Own it, man. Stop and own what happened so that you can move forward.
Yeah. Well, societally, we're not gonna get anyone to own it at leadership because we don't have any leaders.
It's so embarrassing, man.
And
so embarrassing.
Societally, they're not going to own it. What Jocko says that a good leader should do is not going to happen. So given that that's not going to happen, each of us as individuals have got to own our part of it and go, oh, wait a minute, that did happen to me. Yeah. That did hurt. I was terrorized by my own government, by people who disagreed with me.
Yeah.
And if you believed one thing, the other side terrorized you. It didn't matter what it was you believed, right? Because the source of truth was there was no source of truth. Right. Anybody that claimed to be the source of truth was laughed at because they weren't the source of truth. E.g. Fauci, and so, has become the laughing stock of the whole thing. He was like the head of the circus, and so, but nobody's coming back and going, look, he was just wrong.
Yeah.
2 million people
he
were
never,
not slated
He
to die.
never came up and said, hey, last 3 months I said this. I was inaccurate. We got new data. It's time to do this now. That never
once.
happened.
Never once.
And if I could pass along one piece of information after working with hurting people for so many years, and you too, if you're in leadership and you head down a road and you realize this isn't the right road, just stop and turn back to tell the folks we're on the wrong road.
Keep your reverse gear in good working order.
That's such a gift to everybody.
Yep.
And it's not a matter of weakness or failure. It's a matter of strength, right? Yep. Just to say, hey, we got new data, and it's time to do this now. And I had said this. But all of us, I think you're right. We can talk about that all day. What I have to do is look in the mirror. Me and my wife have had to have some acknowledgement.
We're not going to fix those goobers, okay? But what you and I do need to address for the listener right this second is that you can't go on as if nothing happened.
That's right, because it did.
Denial is not a river in Egypt.
That's right.
It's a real thing.
Yep.
And so you have got to say, this happened. I faced stuff I've never faced before. I've felt things I never felt before. I may have even done things I've never done before. And I'm not going to go back to the way it was until I put some gas back in my tank, and then it'll never really be back the way it was.
I got to build something new. That's right.
I'm going to lead not as if nothing happened. I'm going to lead out of this. I'm going to lead my life, and you are in control of leading your life if you're listening to us right now. So lead your own life. Leading your life is you are the leader, and so you have to use critical thinking skills. You have to say, emotionally, this hurt. Physically, I was scared for my life. There was, trauma with that, and the real world is that really happened. Now, is it debilitating for the rest of your life? Does it have to become the defining thing for your life? Absolutely not. It shouldn't be. But if you pretend like it didn't happen, you're going to turn to ash.
Everything around you will turn to ash. That's right. One of the most common questions I get is, where do I start? And I would say 95% of the time, there's a relationship or two that was significant to you that went away over the last couple of years. Either they said something, you said something, you felt the way, they felt the way, and that's where I would start. I would look over the course of the relationships that I burned or lost or got frustrated with over the last couple of years and say, is there some people in there I need to call and say, dude, 30 years isn't worth this over the last 2 years. Is there a conversation I need to have with my spouse and say, hey, man, we got sideways over the last 2 years, and I just put some stuff in the drawer. We need to just have a chit-chat. But are there relationships that I can begin to heal? And maybe there aren't. Maybe I need to then replace those that are gone.
Yeah, or it might just be you say, okay, I don't respect that person.
That's right. So we've moved on, but I've got to replace those with other people in my life, right?
Yeah, this person,
I saw new colors, and
I saw things about them that I don't want to be around.
That's right. But I can't use that as an excuse to do life by myself anymore, right? I got to go find new people.
That doesn't give you excuse to not deal with you.
That's right.